should I open the meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, being after 6:30, I'd like to open the Monday, April 13th, 2020 meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission. Before we start the meeting, I need to read a notice from the Governor Baker's office. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Okay. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Norton Cable website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, our first hearing. Do we have to do this next part about public hearing, Jen?
We do, because it's slightly different than the public meeting. So town council recommended both.
Okay. I need to make an announcement about new procedures for public hearings. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public hearing of the Norton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen to / view this public hearing / meeting while in progress by logging into the Zoom conference meeting at the end of this agenda. Members of the public attending the public hearing / meeting virtually would be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Are there any questions by anyone before we start? No.
Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Well,
Okay.
Except for those attending by phone.
yes.
Right, yeah, except for my mom.
The power's out. Couldn't help it.
All right, and so from the list, I see we have Mark Wigstead, Zach Richards, John Sullivan from Wheaton College. Is there, and Will Granby? Is there anybody else from Wheaton?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and John Chessie is here, the commission's consultant. So Mark, I believe you're going to present the project?
Yes.
Okay, and then you can just direct me where you want me to scroll down.
Okay. Thanks for doing this. I know this is tough for people to figure out. So I'll start with this is the Old Science Center at Wheaton. The goal of the project is to make the building entrance accessible to people with disabilities. So I'm going to start with the existing conditions plan here, which shows the buffers. So in blue, you'll see the delineated wetlands, and then off of the wetlands, you'll see in red the 25-foot no disturb zone, and then beyond that, there's the 100-foot buffer zone. So it's a little hard to see, but this is the road that is adjacent to the building. And you'll see the 25-foot no disturb is within the road where we're not proposing any work. All of the work we're proposing is behind the existing curb line on the east side of that driveway. So there's no disturbance in the 25-foot zone. That's all buffer zone work. You could go to the next slide. I'm going to show some photos. So this is looking south, where I just showed. This is the entry to the building. You can see there's a couple of steps there, granite stairs to get into the building. This is a walkway. As you can see, it's not accessible by a wheelchair. You can go to the next slide. This is now at the entry, just looking farther south. This is the existing walkway and the road, and this is some utility equipment behind the tree. You can go to the next slide. Okay, this is looking the opposite direction, looking north. This is again the entry to the building, the walkway we just talked about, the tree, and the driveway here. And then one more photo should give you the rest of the perspective. This is a driveway adjacent to the building where we're going to propose some parking and where the path would start. This is just some utilities infrastructure related to the building. So I'll show you the proposed site plan now. Okay, so so again, this is Fillmore Drive. We were just looking at the paved area over here. This is that utility infrastructure we were looking at, and these are the existing stairs into the building. So that's kind of the key points here. So the new path would start, near the old one, but it would be brought up to grade so that access to the building is accommodated. I would follow along the building here and end at two parking stalls. So someone in a wheelchair could park here, get out of their van or car, and then use this path to gain access to the building. That's the whole project. Really, it's really just an accessibility project. There's no other building improvements or other improvements. Go on to the next sheet where we'll show how we're addressing stormwater management. Okay, so doing a couple of things for stormwater management. I should say that the increase in impervious area on this project is very, very small. There is an existing path. I think it's mainly the addition of the parking, which is really required for the path to have a real function so someone can get to the building and then get into the building. So along the path, we have infiltration trenches, which collect some water off of the path itself, and those run linearly along the edge of the the downstream or the lower side of the accessible path. We have a new catch basin here, which collects the new parking stall area. That's a new pavement, and then it also collects some existing pavement. So that's offering a little bit of a benefit to some of the existing pavement that's out there. And then below the parking area is a perforated pipe infiltration system. So with all of that, that's the entire project. We're trying to pick up and treat the existing impervious area here and all the new impervious area that's being created or I guess redone as part of the project. It is a redevelopment project. There are existing paths. It's just not a path that's accessible to disabled people. That's my description of the project. I know John had a hard deadline, so if John wanted to talk now, that'd probably make the most sense.
John, are you there?
John? Which John?
No, sorry, John.
John Chester.
It says you're not muted, so that might be on your end. Okay.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, John.
Hey, so like Mark said, this project has essentially 275 square feet of new impervious area compared to what's there today. So it's a pretty de minimis project. I mean, I reviewed it as if it's any other project in terms of like what the requirements might be, and then the commission can make its decision. The only issue I see is that there's a lot of fill around the building. The building has a deep basement, and most of the places we dug, we could never get through the fill to where there might have been native soil. The only place we could was to the far end of opposite end from where the new handicap spaces are shown. So they're proposing the infiltration in an area that's filled land. The soil that was filled is mostly pretty sandy, pretty good, but there were areas with like, bricks, and there was some tar from the roof and things like that. So technically, you're supposed to get to the native soil, but again, for this project itself, for 275 square feet of impervious area, it's almost a de minimis project from the start. I mean, you wouldn't be able to measure the difference to that wetland, I don't think, from 275 square feet of impervious area. But technically, you're supposed to dig down to the native sand and fill it up where you can. And that's pretty much the main comment I have.
Yeah, so
Okay, thank you.
we did receive John's comments late last week, and that's the only one that we felt would be difficult for us to meet, just because it's such a small project, and removal of all of the existing fill would be a much larger project than the project itself, probably. And I think we're making some other improvements, and it is a redevelopment, so we would just ask if that one, recommendation, but in the stormwater handbook could be waived for this project. And other than that, we'll respond, formally in writing to the rest of John's comments. But we'd like that direction if we can get it tonight, so we know how to respond.
Good, Jen, did you have anything?
I did not. They received a letter from me, and they provided responses, which you received in your packet.
Okay. Did anybody else on the board? Sorry, go ahead, Jen. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I think they answered all of those questions. There was just one issue about wetland being altered on the opposite side of the street in that location. They requested to look at that separately and not part of this project, and that could be appropriate. Wheaton has always worked with us on any kind of violation or stormwater issues, so I'm confident that they would follow through with it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Does anybody else on the board have a question or comment?
Yeah, you're gonna need to get used to that little hand up there. I raised my hand.
Oh, you did?
I can't see. I'm running the same line.
Right. Okay. I'll forget about the hand. So anyway, the issue as I see it is, what would be the benefit of trying to remove the fill when it's not clear there would be a measurable difference? I think, as John has characterized this as a relatively de minimis project, that removing the fill would be not justifiable.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions from the board?
There are no other hands up, Scott.
Sorry, okay, any questions from the public? Comments from the public?
So public, you are not all unmuted, so at the bottom of the screen, under Manage Participants, if you click that, there should be a button there that says Raise Your Hand. If you have a question, please do that now. And if you're having any technical issues, you can certainly email the Conservation Commission, and we'll review that in the next 2 weeks before the next public hearing, just to make sure everybody has time to comment if they weren't able to tonight. So I don't see any hands being raised.
Okay.
Don't think we have any abutters at this time.
So we just need them to address the comments that you already gave them, and will they be ready to close at the next meeting?
It's likely they would close at the next meeting. I would anticipate that. Yep.
Okay, that would be 27,
27.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so can I get a motion to continue to the 27th?
Yes, you can.
I'll second that.
Okay, Julian makes a motion to continue the public hearing to the April 27th, 2020 meeting, seconded by, I'm guessing, Dan Pearson.
Yeah.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No opposition, so the motion goes through, and they will continue to the 27th. Thank you guys for coming out, or logging in.
Thank you.
Rather.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Right. Should I move on to the next one, Jim? Should I wait?
It looks like, yeah, I think you can go on next.
Okay. Our next hearing is a notice of intent for file 250-1054, New England Power Company, 315 and 327 transmission line right of way. Proposed work includes general utility maintenance activities and improvements, including structural replacements, access road upgrades, and work pad construction at existing structures within bordering vegetated wetlands, 200 feet of riverfront area, and bordering land subject to flooding. Files can be viewed at https://tinyurl.com/250-1054-New England Power. And this is continued from the previous meeting.
Correct. Can you see the email on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, they did ask for a continuance, but they're having an issue with the, making sure they have the correct abutters notified. And so with the assessor's office, working remotely as best they can, BSC Group has suggested that they identify abutters within 1,000 feet as required by the regulations, and then have a land surveyor confirm that the information on Mass GIS is correct, just to try to help out the assessor's office in identifying the correct number of abutters. So they wanted to know if that is acceptable method to the commission.
I'm okay with that. Do we need a vote on that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, so the only question I had for the assessors was just that the Mass GIS website, whether or not that is updated as frequently as our assessors records, just to make sure there wasn't a sale
Okay.
in between that time. So if we get the message back from the assessors that Mass GIS is all set, then I have no issue with them saving the town a little bit of time by doing it themselves and then having it confirmed by a land surveyor.
I agree.
Okay, and so then they have requested a continuance to 4/27.
Okay. Made a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. This is Pearson.
And I'll second that. This is Julian.
Dan Pearson makes a motion to continue the public hearing for file 250-1054 to the April 27th meeting, seconded by Julian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No, motion passes. South Worcester Street, and they have requested a continuance to the April 27th meeting.
Correct.
I so move.
Second. Julia makes a motion to continue the public hearing to the April 27th meeting, seconded by Ron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next hearing is a notice of intent for file 250-1040, 308 East Main Street, and they requested continuance as well, right, Jen?
They have requested a continuance. We still have not received any revised plans or any documentation in nearly a year. just so you're aware.
How long do we have to keep it open for?
Well, they did request a continuance, but under the legislation, the commission may continue it to another date, or you can continue it to the next available hearing within 45 days of the end of the state of emergency.
Okay. So can I make a motion? Can I get a motion to have it continued until 45 days after the emergency is over?
Also move, Pearson.
And
All right.
Mr. Pearson
Makes the motion to continue the public hearing about 250-1040 until 45 days after the current crisis has ended. Seconded by Julian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, the motion passes. Okay. My flashlight's dying. That's our last thing, right?
Do you have, no, you can't use your phone.
I can go get another one if I have to, but I'm good for now.
Okay.
So we are on draft minutes.
First you have the discussion, authorization for electronic signatures.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we should have done this.
So in order to do the electronic signatures, it looks like we have to have a vote from the board, and then we just record the date and you do a roll call just to make sure that it's approved, that I can type in your name and you, I can type in your name, and that's confirmation that you are intending to sign the documents electronically instead of having to come into the office.
So you need a vote to allow this process, and then every time you're going to be authorized to sign, we'll do a roll call to authorize you to sign that particular one. Is that what you mean? Or is it one time?
It's one time, and then anytime you have a commission meeting and you vote on something, then whoever says yes, then I just type in your name for you.
Okay. So I need a motion to authorize this, right?
Correct. You want me to put it on the screen?
I don't have a screen.
Well, all right, here. So the language is to authorize Conservation Director Jennifer Carlino to physically sign Norton Conservation Commission documents on behalf of individual Norton Conservation Commission members.
And I will second that motion. Or no, I will make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Pearson.
Julie makes the motion to authorize Jennifer Carlino to sign
Yep,
electronically
physically
for
sign
committee
Norton.
members. Do you want to just read it? Right?
Correct.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. But we're not signing anything this time, right? So we don't have to do it right now?
Correct.
Okay. So that,
Oh, I'm sorry,
For
do
that.
that as a roll call vote, please.
All right. I vote as aye.
Pearson, aye.
okay. Ron, who are you? Okay.
I think
Who's
we
next?
did Dean.
I vote aye.
Okay.
Is that everybody? And Scott.
And Scott, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Now you're on minutes.
Okay. Everyone got the last meeting. So I'd like to review meeting minutes from the March 9th, 2020 meeting. Any comments, questions, corrections?
Do you need a motion to accept?
I do.
I will make such a motion.
I will second.
Julian makes the motion to accept the draft minutes from the March 9, 2020 meeting as submitted, seconded by Dan Pearson. All those in favor?
No, I think that was Gene.
Correct.
Oh, Gene made the motion?
No,
Wait a second.
I made the motion, Gene seconded.
Remember, Scott can't see you.
I'm just listening to the voices. Julian makes the motion to accept the meeting minutes from the March 9th meeting, seconded by Gene.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, new business.
Okay. I think that's correct.
Is there anybody else on the call right now?
I'm unmuting two people who
Okay.
I'm assuming are going to speak on the next one,
The Oak Street one?
or at least I've tried. Yep.
Okay.
So let me find the letter. Yeah, I can't seem to pull that up. Okay, Scott Goddard, you're talking about this?
Sure.
Or is somebody else on the line for you?
No, I can cover it. Are we live? Here we go.
Yeah, when you're ready.
Okay, so the 219 Oak Street order of conditions that's been issued for the development of a single-family house involved a substantial wetland crossing as part of that approval. The owner/applicant is in the process of marketing the property for sale, and one of the challenges is to get people to access the property, contractors, buyers, realtors, etc. They really can't navigate it very gracefully by foot to get to the buildable portion of the property because the wetland is mucky and wet and has probably standing water, a foot deep, I would guess, at this point in time. So what I considered doing was building within the footprint of the approved driveway crossing a temporary wooden elevated platform for pedestrian access. And I would just build it by hand with a couple of planks elevated on some 4x4s, so similar to what you would build in a wooded walking trail if you were crossing over a wetland, so that just people can walk through without having to have hip waders on or get stuck in the swamp. So I submitted a request under the existing order to do that work as a temporary action. There would be no trees cut or anything like that. Some trees might be used as attachment points, but not cut, and it would just be within the footprint of the approved driveway. So that was the request.
So the order of conditions is very specific about not doing any work within the vernal pool.
Right.
And you're requesting to do work within the vernal pool during vernal pool season? Is that your request?
I figure it's better than walking through it. Having people able to walk above it.
But you're proposing to do actual work in a vernal pool during vernal pool season. That's your request?
I mean, we could phrase it that way, but yeah, I mean, I want to put in planks to be able to elevate people so they don't have to walk through the water.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So the water is at least 1.5 to 2 feet deep right now, so you won't be able to just put planks down. So the commission has to look at a couple things. Is it necessary? Does it require a change to the order of conditions to allow, and then it would be an amended order of conditions, not a minor modification? I guess you would start there. Sorry, I think Julian had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I saw in some of the materials, there was, I don't know if it was a photo of a similar footbridge, but if the water's a foot and a half deep, how would you support that structure without, I mean, where can you?
I would take like 4x4 posts driven in, and then put a little like a T at the top of the 4x4, and then you could put a pair of 2x6s in order to support your weight and body weight.
So it sounds like a pretty big undertaking if you're going to get a 4x4 driven in.
Andrew.
I would do it with a 4x4 post, sledgehammer it in order just to make it rigid.
I don't see how that's going to work, but it's definitely a change to the order of conditions. That's not a minor modification, if the commission would even approve that.
Can I ask you a question? This is Scott.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, Scott, at the beginning that this is the same area where the driveway is going to be crossing anyways. Is that actually the case?
Correct.
So this is an area that was planned on cutting right through the vernal pool originally? Jen, is that right?
Originally, yes, but everything in the order and everything that... The reason you could approve it was because you permitted that the work would only be done in the dry, not during any period when the vernal pool had water in it.
Right. Okay, that was my question. Thank you. That's all. I didn't know.
That's the only reason you permitted the project, because it would be done in the dry. Otherwise, they do not meet performance standards.
Correct. Okay.
And I'll just comment. You really can't drive a 4x4 into the ground with a sledgehammer. It's boom.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, arguably it can be done. You could even put a little, sharpen the base of it or something like that. But I've seen this method used for making paths through wet areas in hiking trails and such.
Can you wait 2 months to do it in June?
Sure.
Well, you would need to wait for the order of conditions for the area to be dry. That's what your permit allows. Unless you're requesting to come in as an amended order of conditions and notify abutters and go through.
I don't really want to open it up like that to that level. This was just more of a convenience for the owner.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I would just make a comment. Crossing it with a small rubber raft would be a lot less trouble. And I mean, are you talking about a way of moving a lot of tools over?
No. This was just really people,
Just to walk the site, or?
Exactly.
And you would go to all the trouble of putting a footbridge in just to casually walk over there? It just doesn't, it sounds impractical to me.
Well, yeah, I understand that for sure. And it's if you have been out there, it's impractical for the average person, unless you're equipped like myself or Jennifer or someone who does what we do. Most normal people wouldn't walk across this. But that's fine. We can wait. It's really not a big request that I'm trying to make here.
Okay, so we're not going to modify the order then? Is that correct for everybody?
Agreed.
Do we need to vote on that, Jen, or we all said it?
If Scott needs the decision, then you would vote on it. If he's withdrawing, then you would not.
I'll withdraw the request.
Okay.
Thank
So we're
you.
done. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Next, is there anyone else from the public, Jen, that needs to speak?
I'm not sure if Dave Lennon was able to call in or not.
Okay.
Dave Lennon, are you there? He had emailed and said he didn't have power, so he wasn't sure he would be able to come on. But he is next on the agenda for the annual Norton Kayak lease agreement.
So
The only change is he wants to have two canoes available, not just kayaks. That's the only change.
we had spoken about that last time, didn't we?
I believe so.
So do we just need to ratify it now?
Yes.
Okay. So can I get a motion to ratify the approval of the lease agreement for Norton Kayak?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Dan Pearson makes a motion, I believe, to ratify the approval of the Norton Kayak.
It wasn't
No?
me, Scott. Just for the record, it wasn't me. I'm sorry.
It was me, Julian.
Oh,
Julian made, who seconded it?
I did, Gene.
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 Yeah, okay, thank you. Julian made a motion to ratify the approval of the Norton Kayak lease agreements, seconded by Gene. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, your next thing is a thank you letter for a land donation, but I don't know that you want to do that electronically. I think it's a lot nicer when you can put your own signature to it. That's up to
Okay.
you though.
Can you leave it in the truck or something, and we can just make separate visits? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Old business? Anything to worry about?
Well, a lot of people are home, so we have a lot new violations, but I've been to them. Some are cooperative, some are not, and in the next week we'll see how they're progressing and can give you a better report at the next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Okay, we need to ratify last meeting's open session topics, not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours advance.
Right,
For
on
March
March,
9th.
yeah, sorry. Just on March 9th, we were asked to write a duplicate order of conditions so that the water department could record their permit, and requested an extension for another water department project before it expired. And so we had to do that. It was time sensitive, and they weren't controversial, so we were okay with issuing those two documents. And you just have to ratify the vote at this meeting.
Okay, we need to do each one separately?
No, you can do them together.
Okay, need a motion to ratify both approvals?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Pearson makes a motion.
I'll second.
To ratify the, what Jen said.
Gene, was that you seconding that?
That was Jean.
Okay, so Dan Pearson makes a motion to ratify the request for duplicate order of conditions for file 250-1048 and the request for extension permit for order of conditions for file 250-943 that was approved at the March 9, 2020 meeting, seconded by Gene. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right. You got anything else, Jen?
I don't have anything else on here. Do you?
Okay. No one last motion, guys.
Adjourn?
Come on, guys.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Now that's Pearson, by the way, who made the
Pearson
first.
makes the motion to adjourn, seconded by Julian.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right. Thank you, guys.